Thanksgiving night, Dad raised his glass. The business is sold. $50 million dollars to Everest Holdings. My brothers and sisters cheered. I just smirked, leaned forward, and said, do you even know who Everest Holdings is? He laughed. Some big investor, I whispered. It's me. You could hear a pin drop. I grew up in Brookline, one of Boston's ritziest suburbs, in a colonial mansion that screamed old money. 6 bedrooms, an indoor heated pool, and a lawn that took 3 gardeners to keep pristine. From the outside, we were the all-American success story. My grandfather, Robert Adams, started Adams Software Solutions in his garage in 1978 with a beat-up computer and a big idea for inventory management software. He turned it into a regional powerhouse. And when my dad, Harold, took over in 1995, he scaled it to a $50 million empire with 200 employees and clients nationwide. Every family gathering, Thanksgiving, summer barbecues, you name it, became a shrine to Dad's business genius. The Adams name was gold in Boston, and he made sure we all knew it. There were 3 of us kids. My older brother, Garrett, 38, was the golden boy, handed a VP role straight out of college, despite majoring in communications and spending more time on his yacht than in the office. My younger sister, Megan, 29, was a lifestyle influencer, leveraging the Adams name for her million followers, posting about our old money life while contributing 0 to the company. And then there was me, Morgan, the middle child, always stuck in the shadows. I was the one who inherited Grandpa's love for tech. I taught myself to code at 12, built my first app at 15, and graduated summa cum laude from MIT with a dual degree in computer science and business. But to Dad, I was invisible. He'd look right through me during business talks, like I was just there to pass the mashed potatoes. Mom, Diane, came from old Boston money and handled family drama the Beacon Hill way, ignoring it with a glass of Chardonnay in hand. She'd occasionally nudge, Harold, maybe listen to Morgan's ideas. But when Dad shut her down with his signature, Diane, this is real business, she'd retreat. Family dinners were a masterclass in exclusion. Dad and Garrett would trade industry jargon and golf stories while I sat there biting my tongue, knowing I understood the tech better than both of them combined. If I dared chime in, Dad would pat my hand and say, that's sweet, Morgan, but leave the business to the grown-ups. It stung every time. The breaking point came when I was 22, fresh out of MIT. I'd spent months crafting a cloud-based integration solution that could have put Adams Software years ahead of the competition. I begged Dad for a boardroom pitch, and he agreed, probably just to humor me. I walked into that mahogany-paneled room, heart pounding, laptop ready, facing a sea of Dad's old buddies. Men in their 50s and 60s with polite, bored expressions. 10 minutes in, Dad checked his watch, sighed, and cut me off. Morgan, sweetheart, this is creative, but it's not practical for a serious company like ours. He turned to the board with a shrug. My daughter's fresh out of college, full of academic ideas. Shall we move on to real business? The room chuckled as I packed up, humiliation burning through me. That night, I made a vow. I'd leave Boston, build something undeniable, and make sure Dad could never dismiss me again. So I moved to San Francisco with $5,000 and a chip on my shoulder. My parents thought it was a phase. She'll be back when she runs out of money, I overheard Dad tell Mom. Those early years were brutal. I lived in a tiny studio in a sketchy neighborhood, surviving on ramen and coffee, working 80-hour weeks, first at entry-level coding gigs, then freelancing. Every cent I saved went into my company, Everest Holdings, which I founded under the pseudonym M.E. Stone, Morgan Elizabeth, but no one knew that. I wanted my success to stand apart from the Adams name. I started small, building custom software for startups, reinvesting every dollar. By year 3, I had 10 employees in an office in Samoa. The big break came when I developed a proprietary platform that let old-school systems talk to modern cloud services. Ironic, since it was a refined version of the idea Dad shot down. Venture capitalists came knocking, but I kept majority ownership, determined to call the shots. Over 7 years, I acquired smaller tech firms, growing Everest to a $200 million valuation with offices in 3 cities. In the tech world, M.E. Stone was a reclusive genius who avoided the spotlight. I let my COO handle most public appearances, keeping my identity under wraps. Back home, my family had no clue. During rare holiday calls, I'd say I was doing okay or figuring things out. Dad never asked for details, assuming I was floundering. That was fine by me. I was building an empire to shock them all. For the past year, I'd been quietly buying shares in Adams Software's key suppliers and clients, studying their weaknesses, positioning Everest as the perfect buyer. 6 months ago, I sent an anonymous acquisition offer through a third party. Dad rejected it without a second thought. Now, 10 years after that boardroom humiliation, I was back in Boston for Thanksgiving, ready to change everything. The week before, I was in my San Francisco office, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, finalizing the deal of my life. My assistant handed me my travel itinerary. Private jets booked for Tuesday, 11 a.m. Sure you don't want the team with you? I shook my head. This is personal. My best friend, Isabella, called, skeptical. You're really going through with this Thanksgiving showdown? After barely speaking to them for years? I spun my chair toward the window. I need to see his face when it happens, Izzy. She reminded me of last Christmas, when Dad toasted Garrett's promotion to Executive VP, while I sat there, my $30 million Series B funding round, unacknowledged. This time's different, I promised. Everything changes. I packed carefully. Armani suits, a Chanel dress, Louboutins, a Bottega Veneta bag, subtle Tiffany diamonds. No more jeans and hoodies. I wanted them to see hints of my success before the big reveal. On Tuesday, I boarded the private jet I rarely used, reviewing the contract one last time. Landing at a private airfield outside Boston, a black Bentley waited on the tarmac. Another deliberate flex. Driving through Brookline's familiar streets, nostalgia hit hard, but so did resolve. The Adams estate loomed as always. Colonial grandeur, snow-dusted lawn, a wreath signaling the holidays. I took a deep breath and walked up the steps. Mom answered the door, her eyes widening at my appearance. Morgan, darling, is that a Rolex? Patek Philippe, actually, I said, hugging her, catching the faint scent of wine. She chattered about Thanksgiving prep and Megan's latest Instagram milestone as she led me into the foyer, all crystal chandeliers and sweeping staircases. Your father's in his study, she said. He's busy with some big deal. Very hush-hush. I smiled. I'll say hi. Dad's study was his sanctuary, leather, mahogany, business journals. I knocked and walked in without waiting, a small rebellion. He looked up, surprised, then offered a half-hearted hug. Trip from California okay? Very smooth, I said. Flew private, saves time. He blinked, confused. That's expensive. I shrugged. Business is good. His phone rang and he turned away, dismissing me with, "This is important." I glanced at his desk and saw it, the Everest Holdings acquisition proposal, my logo staring back. My heart raced, but I kept cool as he ended his call. Big things happening at the company, he said, tucking the papers away. You wouldn't understand. I nodded, used to it, and left for my old bedroom. Upstairs, it was a time capsule. Debate trophies, MIT pennants, computer science awards collecting dust. Proof of a life Dad never valued. Downstairs, Garrett was already sipping scotch at 3 p.m., his smug grin as infuriating as ever. Still playing with computers in California, he taunted. Megan burst in, filming for Instagram. Morgan's here, everyone. Family reunion. She air-kissed me, then whispered, You look expensive, sis. Rich boyfriend. Just working hard, I said, dodging her camera. Garrett's new girlfriend, Amber, a 24-year-old yoga instructor, gushed about San Francisco shopping. The small talk was cut short by Dad's excited voice from his study. Tomorrow after Thanksgiving, $50 million is the final offer. Everest Holdings is insistent. I slipped into the kitchen, needing a breather. Maria, our housekeeper of 20 years, greeted me warmly. California agrees with you, Miss Morgan. She hinted at Dad's big news, and I realized even the staff knew more than his kids. Pre-dinner drinks were torture. Mom's forced cheer, Dad glued to his phone, Garrett bragging about his boat, Megan filming it all. I sipped my wine, watching the dysfunction like an outsider. Dinner was the usual Adams spectacle. Wedgwood china, sterling silver candelabras. a 25-pound turkey. I was seated at the table's far end, as far from Dad as possible. Garrett and Megan flanked him, Mom beside me, the family hierarchy clear. As we went through the gratitude ritual, Garrett boasted about a record-breaking quarter, a lie, I'd seen the real numbers, in his new yacht. Megan gushed about her million followers and luxury brand deals. When my turn came, I said, I'm thankful for the lessons life's taught me. Rejection can lead you to the right path. Persistence beats privilege. Success is the best teacher. Dad frowned, sensing something, but moved on. As pumpkin pie hit the table, Dad tapped his glass. I have an announcement. The room went quiet. I've decided to sell Adam's software. The deal finalizes tomorrow. Garrett choked on his wine. Megan gasped, still filming. The proceeds won't go to you kids, Dad continued. Your mother and I will use some for retirement, the rest for a charitable foundation. Garrett slammed the table. That's our birthright, Megan wailed, angling her phone for dramatic tears. I stayed calm, eating my pie. Mom noticed. Morgan, you don't seem surprised. All eyes turned to me. I set down my fork. Just one question, Dad. Who's the buyer? He puffed up. Everest Holdings, a top tech firm. They're paying $50 million, more than fair. I took a sip of water, heart pounding. Dad, I said, I am Everest Holdings. Silence. Absolute deafening silence. Garrett knocked over his wine, red staining the tablecloth. Megan whispered to her phone, Did my sister just say she owns Everest Holdings? Dad's face cycled through shock, disbelief, anger. I pulled out my business card, M.E. Stone, CEO, Everest Holdings, and slid it across the table. Morgan Elizabeth Stone, I founded Everest 10 years ago after you humiliated me in that boardroom. It's now worth $200 million. Garrett exploded. This is a joke, Dad sputtered. Everest is run by a respected investor, not my daughter. I listed the suppliers and clients I'd acquired, detailing Adam Software's losses. 22% market share, gone in 3 years. You rejected my partnership offer 6 months ago, I said. Your pride wouldn't allow it. Garrett accused me of espionage. I corrected him. Public records, legal channels. Dad stood declaring the deal off. It's done, I said. Contracts are signed. The board approved. Press release goes out at 9 a.m. Mom, tipsy but clear-eyed, spoke softly. All these years, we thought you were struggling. You never asked, I said, the hurt spilling out. Dad's ultimatum came next. Be my daughter or the person who took my company. Not both. I looked him in the eye. I'm both, Dad. You just refuse to see it. The fallout was chaos. Dad stormed to his study. Garrett confronted me later, accusing me of lying. I revealed his $300,000 embezzlement, fake vendor accounts, offshore funds. Resign quietly or face charges, I said. He backed down, shaken. Megan pitched a social media partnership, her adaptability almost admirable. Mom, sober for once, admitted her failure to stand up for me. I knew you were special, she said, tears falling. I just didn't know how to help. By morning, Dad confirmed the sale was binding. In his study, he asked, How did you do it? No connections? No capital? I told him, freelance work, a lean startup, a killer platform, a team that believed in me. Being underestimated was my advantage, I said. He offered a handshake. Chairman Emeritus. Welcome to Everest Holdings, Dad. 6 months later, Adam's Software became Adam's Everest Technologies, modernized and thriving. Dad embraced his advisory role, mentoring staff. Garrett enrolled in an MBA program after repaying his theft. Megan's influencer skills boosted our consumer division. Mom cut back on drinking, volunteering for women's tech initiatives. I split my time between San Francisco and Boston, no longer the invisible middle child, but Morgan, the CEO. This Thanksgiving, we're planning a quieter dinner. No posturing, just family, learning to listen. Success didn't heal the wounds, connection did. To anyone feeling unseen in a family business, know this. Proving yourself is powerful, but reconciliation is profound. Share your story below. Like, subscribe, and let's talk about navigating family and ambition. Thanks for hearing my journey from rejection to a new kind of legacy.